Paige's bleak future as a young Sheldon was subtly alluded to by the Big Bang Theory. Hello everyone, my name is Alana. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And give this video a like. Up, even though Paige didn't show up on the Big Bang Theory, there were hints of her bleak future in young Sheldon. Sheldon enjoyed telling his pals in Pasadena fascinating tales from his early years. He frequently discussed his family, giving insight into what life was like in Medford, Texas, prior to moving to California. Interestingly, though, there were some things he never brought up with his adult acquaintances, such as the fact that Texas is home to another child prodigy named Paige Swanson. It's strange that Sheldon never even brought up Paige, given how important her story has been to his young Sheldon story. Unfortunately, her story is now more of a warning to the brilliant but socially awkward person. If Sheldon hadn't found a strong support network in the Pasadena gang, Paige illustrates how sinister TBBT might have been. Nonetheless, there is curiosity about what will happen to Paige in the end. Although it's hard to predict the character's destiny, the Big Bang Theory provided hints about Paige's bleak young Sheldon future. Paige's situation in young Sheldon is only going to get worse, as evidenced by the fact that Sheldon never brought up the subject in the Big Bang Theory. It was evident that the socially awkward genius chose to relate humorous, if not banal, recollections, even though he had no trouble reliving some of his early memories. This covers his arguments with Missy and his father's embarrassing actions. Thus, the fact that he never mentioned Paige may suggest that things won't get better for her in young Sheldon in the long run. Sheldon's story about George cheating in TBD is a prime example of the kid genius's unwillingness to remember some of the painful memories of his early years. He didn't talk about his experience of observing his father having sex with a woman other than his mother until season 10 of The Big Bang Theory. He began knocking 3 times because of this. Sheldon's first best buddy, Tam, experienced the same thing. Due to a falling out, he never spoke of having a close friend as a child. Sheldon chose to dismiss it rather than dwell on it, possibly in the hopes that he would simply be able to forget about it. His seeming unwillingness to talk about Missy could therefore be detrimental to the character. Sheldon has a strong mind, but he has trouble with social and emotional abilities. Although she may have already begun her rebellious period in young Sheldon season 6, his twin sister is really more suited to thrive in life because, despite her lack of intelligence, she is more well-adjusted overall. Sheldon was repeatedly depicted in The Big Bang Theory as having trouble handling challenging circumstances. He attempted to minimize how devastated he was when Amy first ended their relationship and declined to go to Professor Proton's wake. Sheldon shares his ideas for a grant database, but East Texas Tech manipulates him in young Sheldon season 6. It might be the reason he never discussed his time in college on The Big Bang Theory. While the other members of the Pasadena group freely discussed their undergraduate experiences, Sheldon never really discussed his time at East Texas Tech because of his less-than-ideal experience there, even though he graduated. The Big Bang Theory may be saved by young Sheldon's most recent plot gap. Plot gaps created by young Sheldon are nothing new. While it is true that Sheldon's omission of any mention of Paige from The Big Bang Theory raises some concerns, it should be noted that the socially awkward genius has a history of avoiding emotionally taxing discussions. For Sheldon, Paige's narrative serves as a warning. He was keen about having Leonard, a character from The Big Bang Theory, as a roommate since he knew that he wouldn't be alone after witnessing his fellow child genius battle sadness and loneliness. Paige's storyline gave young Sheldon the opportunity to emphasize the boy genius humanity in spite of Sheldon's emotional immaturity. Despite his refusal to acknowledge it, it is obvious that he cares about her welfare. Although Paige's future is yet unknown, if Sheldon's actions on The Big Bang Theory are any guide, it's likely that things will only get worse for her. The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon are two of the most beloved sitcoms in the world, and fans of both shows have been deeply invested in the lives of these quirky characters for years. While the two shows are technically separate, they share a deep connection, one that just might have dropped a huge secret about the future of young Sheldon's Paige. Could the troubled genius from young Sheldon be heading toward a future filled with unexpected twists and darkness? You won't believe the clues that were. When Paige first showed up in young Sheldon, she seemed like just another brilliant young mind to add to Sheldon's already expansive universe of intellect. A child prodigy like Sheldon, Paige was poised to be a significant player in the series, with her intellect and emotional depth offering a fascinating contrast to Sheldon's strict logical approach to life. But while Sheldon is often portrayed as an awkward, endearing genius, Paige's introduction hinted at a far more complex, and possibly darker, future for her. Paige quickly developed a strong bond with Sheldon, but unlike the innocent, childlike curiosity Sheldon usually exudes, Paige's personality was already showing signs of emotional turmoil. And fans began to wonder, was there more to Paige's story than meets the eye? Here's where it gets really intriguing. The Big Bang Theory, the show that birthed the Young Sheldon spinoff, may have actually given us a massive hint about Paige's darker fate. In one particular episode, The Big Bang Theory referenced a brilliant but troubled female scientist. Could this have been a subtle nod to Paige? In Season 12, Episode 14 of The Big Bang Theory, there is a conversation between Sheldon and Amy where they talk about the pressures of being a genius and how it affects people emotionally. Sheldon, who can sometimes be oblivious to emotional nuance, doesn't fully understand Amy's concerns about the toll it takes to be constantly pushed to the limits of intellectual brilliance. However, Amy's insight into the struggles of highly intelligent people gives us a chilling glimpse into what Paige might one day experience. It's not hard to see how Paige could one day feel the weight of expectations and the isolation of being a young prodigy. The emotional stress, combined with her prodigious intellect, could eventually lead her down a much darker path, something that could manifest in her teenage years or adulthood. The Big Bang Theory did an excellent job of hinting at these potential struggles, even if they were delivered under the guise of a comedic conversation. It's also important to consider Sheldon's own emotional struggles as an adult. Throughout The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon battles with social isolation, deep insecurities, and an inability to form meaningful relationships, despite his genius. It's well documented that the pressures of being a gifted child can lead to a range of psychological challenges, and Sheldon's journey is an example of what could happen to someone who is constantly expected to perform at an exceptionally high level. Now, imagine Paige growing up with even greater pressure. As the story in Young Sheldon unfolds, Paige's increasing struggle with her emotional state could parallel the road Sheldon took in The Big Bang Theory. These shows have been known to drop small, seemingly insignificant clues that later reveal much more significant storylines, and Paige's future may be a perfect Sheldon episode where Paige first interacts with Sheldon. She reveals that she is already dealing with emotional strain. While Sheldon sees Paige as a friend and potential rival in the realm of intellect, there's a much darker undertone to their relationship. Paige is already grappling with the implications of her intelligence. She doesn't seem to have the same emotional safety nets that Sheldon's family offers him, and that isolation is a red flag for fans. As Sheldon gets older, his lack of social awareness and difficulty with forming relationships causes deep personal struggles. Could Paige be headed for a similar fate? Could she, too, fall victim to the crushing weight of being a child genius, leading to mental health challenges that could severely impact her future? If The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon are any indication, Paige's future could be one filled with mental health challenges, loneliness, and a deep emotional void that she might not be able to overcome. Let's face it, Paige's future on Young Sheldon looks bleak. The hints we've seen in The Big Bang Theory and her initial struggles in young Sheldon point to a future where Paige's emotional and intellectual challenges become her greatest adversaries. As the series progresses, we could see Paige dealing with depression, anxiety, or even a self-destructive path that mirrors some of the more difficult moments Sheldon experienced in The Big Bang Theory. The foundation is already being laid for Paige to become a brilliant, but ultimately troubled genius. Whether or not the show will fully dive into these dark aspects of her future remains to be seen, but the subtle clues are certainly there. And if we know anything about young Sheldon, it's that the series loves to drop small hints about future character arcs. If there's one thing that we've learned from The Big Bang Theory and young Sheldon, it's that genius doesn't come without its price. Sheldon's personal life in The Big Bang Theory is proof of the emotional toll that comes with being a child prodigy. Could Paige's story follow a similar trajectory? Is her future doomed to be just as tragic and complicated as Sheldon's? The writers of young Sheldon have already teased us with enough hints that we can't help but wonder whether Paige's emotional struggles will eventually take center stage. As she grows older, the weight of her intelligence will only increase, and she may soon have to confront the dark consequences of being a young genius in a world that doesn't. While the future of Paige in young Sheldon remains uncertain, the connections between The Big Bang Theory and young Sheldon are impossible to ignore. The subtle hints dropped in The Big Bang Theory about the emotional toll of being a genius, combined with Paige's early struggles on young Sheldon, suggests that her future may be darker than we ever imagined. Could she, like Sheldon, face an uncertain, emotionally charged journey filled with mental health battles and personal demons? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: Paige's story is far from over, and it might be about to take a very dark turn. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.